Something in Joel.
All right, let's try this. Is it better now? Are we alive?
I see an audible advert again.
Good for you. We're back. All right,
We're back.
can you hear us this time? Is it actually running?
The audio was fine. It was just the visual.
Oh, I see. Let's see. All right, let's see if the video was working. Nothing in my computer is going wrong. If anything, it is probably Shadow's computer. It seems like the video is a little bit better.
Yeah, video seems much better this time.
All right.
Let's go with it.
Let's go with it until it decides to stop working. My guess is it might have been Shadow's computer's downloading something because my computer is fine. There's nothing going on. Also, it's going good, Void. I'm exhausted, but that's because I've only been awake for like an hour. I am way too tired to do this, but we gotta do it anyway.
Get it out of the way with.
Reese is British, so there's that.
Oh, yes. That is important information.
Yep. He's British, so he lives in constant pain and agony.
How did you know?
Also, I shaved, which is why I look different.
I need a shave. I'm starting to get a bit of a beard going on.
All right, let's see here. What to start with? We have this here.
What is on the list?
When was our last stream? The 20th.
20th.
Yeah, we've not hardly done anything. This is not going to be a super long one. New Whist Models. Yeah, new Whist Models, Flavia. We'll show that off.
Oh yes, that was. That is.
That's probably going to be like the primary focus is the new Whist Models, because
custom animations for them as well.
Yep. We've really not done a whole lot of work in the project since last stream, so this is actually not going to be that long of a stream. Mostly because not only did Venom come out and I get busier at work, but a coworker of mine came in contact with COVID, and according to our work policy, if you come in contact with someone with COVID, you have to be out for a set amount of time depending on like your symptoms and stuff. Meaning I had to work extra days and cover for him, so I was a lot busier than I thought I would be. So I've done jack shit in the project.
It's just been me this week. I've been doing more visual things.
I've done a few small things here and there. Nothing that's like show offable, but you know.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I've done a lot of visual stuff that's easily show offable.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and, as you can see, the room has changed a little bit, mostly for the purpose of showcasing things properly. But to get started, let's showcase the new Whist models and all that stuff. We've got a place here displaying all of the Wisp meshes that we're using. The only exception here is Frenzy. For some reason, we have two of them. All of these are using the most recent up-to-date models.
The new model is on top, the old model is on the bottom for Frenzy.
Yeah, I know, but we don't have any of the old models out here for any of the other Wisp is the thing.
Yeah. I did that.
So, Black Bomb. It's a Black Boy. Black Bomb, Greyquake haven't changed. You changed rhythms, materials, you said?
Yeah, I tried to make Rhythm look more magenta than pink.
Rhythm looks actually pretty good. This is the first time I've seen it since you changed it. I like how Rhythm looks.
Try to make Pink Spikes look more pink and Rhythm more magenta because it was kind of backwards before.
Pink Spike is using the new Colors Ultimate model. As you can see, it's got
too different, but it's higher poly, I think.
Yeah, we gotta make it so that these models don't. they don't collide with the camera.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more detailed. Stop it. It's got a little more detail than the last one. It's pink spike, so it wasn't going to look too much different, but it just looks smoother overall, which also helps with the material work, but you can definitely tell it looks smoother. There's Frenzy, which the top one here, like there's two of them. There's the bottom one and there's the top one. The top one is the Color's Ultimate one. It's slightly larger, which we did go through and rescale some of the Wisps, so some of them are slightly bigger than they used to be. As you can see with the old one, there's like a lot of edging with its like quills and its teeth and stuff like that. There's a lot of extra edges. But the Color's Ultimate one looks a lot smoother all over the place. It's still kind of rough, but it's also just kind of the nature of the Wisp itself.
Yep, came with a lot more bones as well to play with.
Oh yeah, Frenzy is a lot more animated, which we'll show off in a little bit. Void doesn't look any different. We're still kind of holding off on Void. Asteroid has new little twinkly particles. Little twinkles.
Twinkle. Yes.
Even though they look like just little mini explosions.
Yeah. His interaction object is updated as well.
Yep.
So it doesn't look like a fireball.
Cube looks significantly better. I actually really like how Cube looks.
Cube came with a normal map, and it's amazing. Now he actually looks great at different angles. Originally,
Cube was literally just a box. That's all it was. The little section with Sonic's eyes and his ears, that wasn't modeled in. That was just a flat box with the texture. In this case, it actually is modeled in. Like, Sonic's eyes and his ears are actually part of the model now. So, Cube looks significantly better. We've also scaled him up a little bit. He's not teeny tiny anymore.
Yep, big boy.
Now, my favorite glow up is Laser. Laser looks so much nicer. If you guys have been keeping an eye on the project, you've seen the old Laser model. This looks just a million times better. I love how this new model looks versus the old one. The old one looks jank as shit, but you never could really tell in game because it was covered in particles.
Yep.
But
and the resolution of the Wii, you couldn't really tell as well.
Yeah, with the Wii's resolution, it was just kind of difficult to see anyway. But this one here looks significantly better. And in Color's Ultimate, if I remember right, the model isn't like drenched in particles, so you can actually see the model and work.
Yeah, not as bad in Ultimate, so you can actually see it more. It has still got particles, but you can see it more.
Yeah. So, Laser's my favorite upgrade. I'm loving how Laser looks. We also have Ghost.
Finally.
Yep, we have a model for Ghost here now. Ghost looks really good. It's very interesting. It's a little weird to look at whenever you play as Ghost, because you look at Ghost from behind.
Yeah, but I had to like custom make the animation as well for Ghost.
Yeah, this animation was made by Reese. We got Hover, which looks pretty good. I like how Hover looks. He looks definitely smoother than the original Hover.
Yep. And thanks to the new model, I managed to get the proper animations for Hover now. So when you hover, it'll do the grow and shrink.
Yeah, and we'll show that off in a little bit.
Yeah.
Lightning didn't change because we made this model for Lightning.
Yep.
Need that Ghost animation. Well, you can get it whenever we release the update. Drill. I'll probably actually open up Drill's asset to show it off, because this one's drenched in particles at the moment. But Drill uses the new Color's Ultimate model, and we went ahead and edited it and altered it.
Yeah, I tore Sonic's head off and stuck it on the back, essentially.
And then there's Rocket, which Rocket didn't look too much different. He's got a higher poly count. His looks smoother. But overall... He's a lot more
like rounder, essentially.
He's a lot rounder, but overall he doesn't look that much different.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's pretty much it for the updated visuals, and we'll probably go ahead and show them off in gameplay. as well. But before I do that, let's show off yellow drill real quick. No, not Castle Lab sets. We need this here. It's yellow drill U, right? Yeah. Okay. Which one is?
Just click on the model in the world, and then
Okay,
you do Control B.
No, I want the one without the Sonic head. Do we have that?
Oh, no, not in here. I
you
moved it into yeah, I did it all in Blender before I put it in the project. So
this spiral part, right here, that's actually what the model that we got from Ultimate. Which, by the way, RoboFabio is the one that got us all these models. So thanks to them. They're the one that ripped all the models and got them to us. So, and they all look really good too. I really like how they look.
Yep. Yeah, I just tore Sonic's head off and I made him angry behind that.
Yeah. So
angry boy.
Yep. This here is just the model from over here. Like this smaller model. Oh, come on, camera, stop it. So we basically took this smaller model, which is the Generations model, ripped the head off, and then stuck it onto the drill piece. Which, if you've seen Sonic Colors' like official renders as well as like the opening cutscene, you would know Sonic's head actually sticks out the back of it. Even in the 3DS version, Sonic's head sticks out the back. So
the game, it's just the spiral.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, because it gets drenched in particles, you can barely even see the yellow drill. But in renders and the CG cutscenes and stuff, it's always got Sonic's head on the back.
Yep. So we edited this one and made it better.
Yeah.
To show off Pink Spike. Like, here's the new one and here's the old one. Obviously the material and the texture are lower res on the older one, but you can also see like some of the sharp corners and stuff have been like smoothed out a little bit.
Ironically, it's a little less jagged.
Yeah. The weird thing is Pink Spike, like the old one, kind of like, due to how the textures were mapped to everything, like how the textures unwrapped across the model, unless you basically blinded yourself with bloom, the original Pink Spike kind of looks like a clusterfuck thanks to how the texture wraps around the model. Like, it's hard to tell what parts are what and where they connect and stuff due to the texture as well as the material reflectiveness and stuff. But this one here, I think it's a lot easier to actually see. It's not really that much different. There are more triangles. Like, the original has 136 tries. The new one has 361, so it is definitely a poly count upgrade compared to the original, but it's kind of hard to tell in some instances.
Yeah.
Orange Rocket. The original Orange Rocket is this one right here, 258 tries, and then there's the U, which has 1,200 or 12,000 tries.
Freaking hell.
But you can definitely see the differences, like, once you actually look at it. Sonic's kind of got a little bit more of a bulbous face in it, with the new one than the old one.
Definitely, like, when you look at the face in these models,
yep,
you can see the difference.
The fins are also a lot more well-defined as well as sharpened out. It also has, like, a concave section that's more properly rounded out. So it just looks overall a lot less angular. Like, this one has 258 tries. That's a pathetic amount of tries, versus this one has like the Chad 12,000 tries.
Chad. Was that an increase of like 6 times or something?
Yeah. It's a fucking lot. It's a little under 6 times, but yeah.
Yeah.
But whenever you compare them side by side like this, you can definitely see the differences. At first glance, you're like,
material as well.
Yeah, the new material also definitely really helps too.
I made them glow. I especially made Orange Rocket glow brighter than the other ones because I thought to myself, it's like, it's going to be hidden behind that cone particle effect, and it'll give the effect of it, like, you know.
Was it Green Hover or Green Hover 1? Which one did we use originally? I think it was Green Hover 1, right? Because that was the Lost World one.
No, it's not Lost World, it's original colors.
Oh.
It's just, I re-imported it to fix it up a bit, so I called it Green Hover 1.
Oh. So yeah, this here is the original, unedited and unchanged.
Yeah, it's got like half of a ball, the original one.
Yeah, it's got a little bobble up here that's half incomplete. The original has about 9,000 or 900 tries. The one after has 990 tries, which is a little bit more. But yeah, this here is basically the original here. It doesn't look too bad, honestly, even for a Wii model. It looks pretty alright. But then you get to the new one, and it's like smooth. You can definitely see it in the eyes. The eyes look less angular. The quills look less sharp.
So yeah, it's more round, more bubbly. Like Hover, in my mind, kind of is just like a bubbly sort of Wisp.
Hover's squishy. I always imagined Hover to be squishy.
He's a deeper green as well. I made the material.
Yeah.
To try and... I can't get Jade's material quite right yet. That's the one material I'm struggling with. Because it still looks a little, like, pale to me. But that's just me. That's just something minor I'm working on.
So the original has like 900 tries. This one has 3,000 tries, which is...
Frickin' hell.
A lot more. Not as much as Rocket. Rocket has a fuck ton of tries for some reason.
I think it's the fins on Rocket.
Yeah, probably. It's the fins and probably the under part.
Yeah.
So we have the original Frenzy, and then we have Ultimate Frenzy. And you can definitely see it whenever I like switch back and forth between them, like the actual differences between the two.
The eyes are a dead giveaway with them.
Yeah. As well as like back quills, you can see how much smoother they get, how much more detail they have on them. But the new Frenzy actually has an additional material, and that's actually for the inside of his mouth. Like the inside of his mouth has its own material, which is interesting. But yeah, for the original, the original Frenzy has exactly 800 tries.
Damn.
And the new one has 3,400 tries.
Getting swole with these tries up in here.
But as you can see, a lot of that detail went into like the quills and smoothing them out a little bit. Giving some of them I think are a little bit longer too, like just a little bit. As well as the teeth. The teeth don't look as jagged.
Yeah.
They look a little bit more smoother. This is the inside of his mouth, which as you can see, this here is the material for it. And the original does not have that. If I look inside, it's just the same thing. So the inside of his mouth is pretty neat, but yeah, you can definitely see with the eyes. The eyes are a little bit smoother. Not by a whole lot, but just a little bit. There's a little bit more expression in them, I think. And they also stick out as well. Versus the original Frenzy, they're kind of just flat. Frenzy. And then time for my favorite.
Cyan Laser is the one that like...
Actually, hold on. I could show a blue cube real quick, actually.
Oh, yeah, do cube. Can't forget my boy.
So there's the original blue cube, and then there's the updated blue cube. I showed you my cube. Please respond. The original cube has 120 tries, which I think is the lowest count so far. And then the new cube has 120 tries. Huh. They're actually the exact same, despite the fact that the new one actually has more model detailed in it.
That's how normal maps help so much.
But as you can see, most of all of this is just in the texture work. The textures and the materials have been updated. Like, this is the Wii texture versus this texture here. So much smoother. I think it'd be nice to upgrade the texture resolution a little bit because the eyes have a bunch of jaggedness in it. And the ears do. So I think that would probably be nice to upgrade. But
what are you on about the normal map?
I think it's the texture, like the jaggedness and the blue cube texture.
Oh, you're on about when it's going diagonal?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's just a resolution issue.
Yeah, I guess I could clean that up.
It's not that big of a deal, but you know.
Yeah, I know. I know an easy way of cleaning that up to make it look immediately better.
Yeah, so in terms of like poly count, technically the new one has more vertices than the old one. Like the old one has 86 verts, the new one has 102, so it's like an upgrade of a little less than 40. But I like the new cube.
Now to go to Cyan Laser.
Cyan
major glow up.
Cyan Laser is the best fucking glow up. Remember right, this here's the old one. Yep, this here's the old one. This is the old Cyan Laser. And as we can see, it's got the weird jagged quills. Everything is weirdly spaced. Like, this isn't even symmetrical. Like, if you look at it, some quills are like at a weird angle in comparison to others. Like, this is not a symmetrical model at all, and it's bothered me for the longest fucking time. I didn't hate this model, but now that I've seen the new model, I actually kind of hate this model now. The only reason I didn't hate this model is because it's the only one we had. But now that we have
with Cyan Laser ended.
New friendship with Cyan Laser. But then you look at this and you see how symmetrical it is. The quills are completely symmetrical. They're identical to one another. They're the same size, same length. They got the same poly count.
Perfect length.
Perfect length. The eyes look so much better because they're modeled in rather than just textured on. The ears are actually pretty decently well made as well. Got some curvature on them.
Just so different. It's such a better model.
Yep. Just the curvature of the mesh as well. Like, this one is very flat versus the new one has some like curve. You can see the curve underneath its head and it goes into the quills. And then you can see like a defining curve from the top of his head into the quill versus the old one. It's like it's there, but it looks very artificial. It doesn't look natural at all. Like, there's a definitive curve, but due to the low poly count, it's just not really noticeable.
Curves.
The top quill has a noticeable curve upward versus the new one does not. The old one has a total of 224 tries, and the new one has 2,000, which is 10 times more. Almost exactly 10 times more.
This is what you can do with pretty much 10 times more.
This new model looks so much nicer. I love this new model.
And I have an idea of adding extra bones to this model to just add extra animations.
Yeah, Cyan Laser has absolutely no animations. There are a couple of Wisps that just don't animate. Cyan Laser being one of them. We would like to add like maybe 2 or 3 animations to Cyan Laser. Might add an animation to Rocket. Could add an animation to Cube for whenever it slams onto the ground. That'd be pretty neat.
Alright, that's what I've got planned. I'm gonna make him squish.
Squish a little bit.
I'm gonna make it so Cyan Laser, the quills will fan inwards when he's dashing forward. Make it look more like a bullet sort of a thing. But yeah. So it's time to show off the animations that we do have.
Yeah. So let's see here.
Hover.
Should we start with hover?
Yeah, might as well. Hover's like the biggest animation upgrade for the Wisps.
Well, yeah. So for hover, we've got hover! He still looks pretty basic whenever he's not flying, but whenever you start to go up, he plates, kind of like how he did in Clock Colors.
Yeah, we didn't have that before. Got the growing and shrinking working now.
He still needs to kind of jiggle a little bit whenever you collide with something. But he also has an animation for doing a light speed dash. As you can see, he spins.
Yes, and I'm planning on making the bobble as well on the top, physics-based, so like it'll bob around while you're moving.
Yep. In terms of animation, Pink Spike doesn't look any different because we didn't actually animate Pink Spike. He rotates dynamically in the code based on your speed. So it's all, I don't think procedural is the word I'm looking for, but it's all calculated animation based on your...
Dynamically.
Yeah, it's dynamically set. Frenzy is gotten a different animation. Frenzy! Kind of bounces around a little bit more. His mouth flexes a little bit. I would actually like to try my hand at animating it. But, I would try and... 0 out of 10 Sonic is not turning into a fish. I would try growing Frenzy, but I don't know if these things work or not. I had to make a change to there. Oh, they do work? Have you tried it?
I'm pretty sure it works now. Frenzy grows when you devour it.
Oh, he does. So that works.
So animation is a custom one.
Yep. Damn it, I didn't hit the button in time. Oh well. That there's Frenzy. Rocket doesn't have any animations, so no need to do that. Jade Ghost, let's go and show off Jade Ghost. It's got some decent little animation here. Kind of hovers. He doesn't, I don't think Ghost will have too many animations at all. We might create an animation for one of our home attacks. But,
yeah, it doesn't really need much besides it's like kind of like idling movement.
So that's that. Just to show off what Blue Cube looks like in motion. He looks significantly better. So yeah, that's Blue Cube, looks significantly better. And then there's Yellow Drill. Which got some new particle work, as you can see. He's kind of got a little twirly ribbon going on.
It needs to be going faster, but I couldn't figure out how to do it.
He does still have the boost particle that only plays whenever you boost forward like this. So could probably tone down the ribbon a little bit so it's easier to actually see around you while you're doing it, but that'll be for later. The ribbon probably doesn't need to stretch out as far as it does.
Yeah, it's just because like when you look at the gameplay, because obviously drill's only ever really used in 2D.
Yep.
When you drill on the ground, but the particle is humongous in 2D.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Alright, just so we have some extra space, we'll hop out here for Cyan Laser. Cyan Laser looks significantly better in use now.
Need to see if we can figure out a way of making the prediction line have like a little dotted effect.
Yeah.
Laser!
Need to make the exiting particle for Cyan Laser. I will have to try and figure out how to do that.
Time stopped, so it did.
Laser!
Oh, it did. I wonder when that happened. That happened a few times, didn't it?
It has
I've
happened.
noticed that a few times.
I want to say it has something to do with swapping wisps, but I'm not actually sure.
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
You'll have to... Probably can just watch it back, to be honest, afterwards.
You probably could.
There has been UI work done recently, so it could be broken because of the stuff I've been doing with the UI.
I think it was broken before then, though. Was the thing.
It was. I did add a branch to the time thing for something, but that should only activate when you hit the result screen. But anywho.
We have some new meshes in here. One's for a button. One is for a fan. Neither one of them do anything. They're both just meshes, I believe.
We've had the button. We've had the button for ages, but I forgot we had it.
Yeah.
And it needs to be implemented. It'll be an easy thing. It's just a switch, but activated differently.
Yep. I think there probably some way we could... God damn it, give me a second. My mother's calling me. I think there's a way we could probably gate it based on its, like the weight of the object on it, but I'll be right back. You can talk, Reese.
Oh. So, yeah, a fan. I'm a big fan of the fan. I'm funny, aren't I? Okay, I'll stop. If people had noticed, there's actually 2 fans have been added. I got in contact with somebody to get the one from Generations, but I have the one from Colors that's also in the project, but it is not being used for the original purpose of the fan. That'll be showed off shortly when Fizz gets back. But there's been preparations for new Wisp models. Not Wisp models, Wisp objects. There's been preparations. There is still a few I'm missing. The magenta notes, the ivory lightning rods, and like grind rail sort of things. The Violet Void interactables, and the interactables I'm going to be making them for Crimson Eagle, because Crimson Eagle didn't have any, but we're going to make some Crimson rings.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No. Yellow. Just talking about the Wisp objects that I've been preparing.
Oh yeah, we can talk about those there. First, the blue cube rings. They
are kind of working.
They function. Okay, they do work. They 100% function. Yeah. Turn into a cube, and they swap states, and you can stand on them, and you hit them again. They swap states, and you can collect them. In terms of functionality, they are 100% functional. We've had some issues with them in the past, but I think that they work a lot better now. Most of all that's left with them in terms of problems are visuals.
A visual thing. There's a bit of an epilepsy thing here. It's kind of flashy.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but
yeah, it's not terrible, but just be careful. When they're in the block state, they just have no idea what they're meant to be doing.
Yeah, something.
We'll have to look at it.
Originally what it was is they had 2 meshes. They had a cube mesh and they had a ring mesh. But I think currently we have that cube mesh disabled. The mesh that you're seeing right now is actually that small center cube. And they also animate whenever they change. So if I hit them, you can actually see what I'm talking about. The small center cube will grow into the size of the other cubes. So they do animate, like so. I gotta change the size of that collection sphere. So they do function. There's just some visual glitches with them is the problem.
I will be looking into it soon.
No.
I might have an idea of why it's doing this, but it's not a major priority to fix at the moment.
Yeah. But whenever they do end up growing, and whenever we get this fixed, so that way they don't flicker like this, the material on the centricube is going to change to be a different color.
It needs to go transparent when it becomes a cube.
Yeah, it needs to become transparent, and it's also got to probably going to change the shade of it a little bit.
Yeah, it's got to be a different shade of blue anyway.
Yeah, this is a little dark.
The ring's meant to be dark blue, and the cube's meant to be a light blue.
Yeah. Don't really pay any mind to the material or the stuff going on with these spires. It's still not working. Well, technically they all function. These work entirely as intended. They just don't look good. So if anyone can get them to look good, because they were released in the Colorful Combat update, they're part of that update. So if you can get them to look good, let us know on how you did it, and we will try and update them. But we also have fans. The number one
this
fans.
is what I was talking about.
Let me grab some rings real quick.
You can press 4.
Oh, you're right, I can press 4. Alright, forget about that. So these fans can only be used by Void. If you try to hit them or touch them with Sonic, you'll actually take damage.
So it's a way to lock Sonic out of getting into certain areas.
Yep. However, Void can use them however it wants. So whenever Void touches it, Void will get launched. Like so.
So the Void fans are in the project now.
Yep. Void fans are now in the function. You hit them and then shoot. They launch Void based on their forward vector, so you just got to rotate them in the direction that you want. You can also tell it whether or not you want it to override Void's current X or Y velocity. So if I selected this, you can be like, override the XY velocity, which basically means, do you want to stop any velocity it had previously in the XY axis? Override Z velocity? Do you want to override whether or not it, like, your up and down velocity whenever you hit it? You can disable the movement and decide how long you want to disable the movement for, stuff like that. There's also how much damage it can deal to the player, which, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't really do anything.
It's knockback.
Oh, probably
that's what
change
it
that
needs
then.
to be named to.
Yep. You can change the launch power, as well as how long it takes for it to reset the gravity, which doesn't work at the moment. I gotta look into it. But
Void's gravity is different anyway. Like,
yeah, I thought I had a way of
gravity.
I thought I had a way of working around it, but it clearly doesn't entirely work. It almost works, but not quite.
Why didn't it work the first time? You're supposed to be good at this.
But yeah, these are a neat little item just for Void.
Yes.
Oh, what is this? I noticed this. Is this a particle?
What is what?
This thing next to the magenta rhythm.
Oh no, it's the magenta note.
Ah.
It's a material that I've put onto a sphere, because that's all it really needs to be. You know, like in Lost World,
yeah,
you'll fly towards it, because that's kind of something we should do with magenta rhythm.
It's like add an alternative version.
Yeah, if you hit a note correctly, if you're in the vicinity of one of them, magenta rhythm will automatically move towards it, and when it hits it, the idea was to make like a shock wave, which would damage enemies and stuff. So there's a reason to follow those paths using magenta rhythm.
I have an idea on how to do that.
Yeah.
As you can see here, this here's Asteroid's little teleport node.
Yeah, its visuals have been changed. It's always been there, but it looked like a burst interactable.
Yeah.
Because I saw people always flying into it as burst, but no, it was always like a.
It's meant to be asteroid.
Yeah, it's meant to be asteroids. Little portal. Asteroid likes to do a portal.
So if you overlap with it with bullet, you teleport. I gotta work on some of the physics of it, because what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to completely stop you, teleport you,
like,
and then drop you
into it.
So, yeah, these frenzy eat objects here, they used to use their own interface specifically for eat objects, but now they do not. They use a general
Wisp
interface, like just a general interface used for Wisp objects. Same thing with the blue cubes. The blue cubes used to have their own interface, but they do not anymore. They use the general Wisp interface, or general Wisp object interface. So a lot of that stuff has been cut down. It uses fewer interfaces. That way it's a little bit more straightforward, like, oh, do you need objects to interact en masse or trade information? Well, just use the general Wisp object interface, stuff like that. So if you want to add your own unique Wisp objects, that would be the interface you use rather than creating a whole new one.
Also, the release for the new update, we haven't got any thing.
Nope, no clue.
Got no clue for that yet. It's kind of too early.
Yep.
Oh, you're gonna show the chromas?
Yep, I can do that.
Visual thing I did.
I was kind of hoping maybe sometime this year, but honestly, after thinking about and seeing how busy I'm probably going to be, and most of everyone's going to be over the holiday season, I would not be surprised if the next update isn't until, like, spring of next year.
Yeah.
Like, that's
it shouldn't
my
take
guess.
a year like Crit and Colourful Combat, though, so don't worry.
It shouldn't take a whole year like Colorful Combat did. But yeah, these chroma cubes, which if you played Colors Ultimate, one neat little detail with them in Colors Ultimate is having a Wisp in your inventory would actually change the color that they glow. Like so. Also, transforming into said Wisp would also change that color. So if they change to red because I grab Red Burst, if I grab Green Hover, they change to green. Or if I grabbed Orange Rocket, they would change to orange. And then if I grab Blue Cube, they would turn blue.
Yeah. So it's just a small little neat visual effect for those cubes, just to make them a bit different.
Yep.
And I think it's pretty sweet.
And of course, the thing is like if you transform and then detransform, they stick around because they don't really care which form you're in. All they care about is if you have a Wisp in your inventory and what that Wisp is. So if I were to grab Burst here, even if I transform and then detransform, it'll still be red because I have a Wisp in my inventory. And that even includes, like, if I transform and I grab another Wisp, such as Green Hover, and then I run out of energy here. So that way, I now have Green Hover in my Wisp, it changes to Green Hover. Which was something I had to change for your code, Reese, because all your code looked for is if you had a Wisp and if you had just recently transformed out of your Wisp. So
it was only if you hit the capsule.
Yep. It still changes on hitting the capsule. The capsule can still do that. But now what it does is whenever you detransform, instead of it, hey look, the timer stopped. I think it does have something to do with the Wisps.
Must do.
What you used to have it was inside the Wisp Master. The Wisp Master would tell them to change, but now Sonic is actually the one that tells them to change, and Sonic tells them to change based on if Sonic is out of energy. If he is out of energy, he then checks to see if he has a Pocket Wisp. And if he doesn't have a Pocket Wisp, then it goes back to null. If he does have a Pocket Wisp, it'll change the color to the Pocket Wisp. Because the Pocket Wisp, whenever Sonic runs out of energy or detransforms at a low enough energy, the Pocket Wisp becomes the new primary Wisp. So it will change based on that. So if I go and run out of Green Hover, it changes back to normal. So these chroma cubes now look pretty.
Yeah. They need to have some Wisp interactions added in later, but that's just create stuff in general. We need to do destructible stuff with them.
I think we also need to upgrade their textures a little bit and probably their normal
Maybe
maps.
we could see if we can just get the new chroma cubes from
Colors Ultimate.
Colors Ultimate, because they might have been updated for that. I mean, I guess the textures have definitely been updated for that. So
yeah,
if I can figure out how to get my hands on them, that'd be great.
These textures are looking a little chunky.
Crispy.
They're a little on the chunker side.
A little on the PS2 side.
Yeah, but that's how a lot of the crates look. A lot of the crates are looking a little chunky.
Most of them are from Heroes, so of course the textures and stuff are gonna thing. Also, I changed the physics for some of them, so if you stomp near some of them won't move. I've made it so the Chroma Cube, Unbreakable Cube, Iron Cube, and it's called a Phase Cube or something, I believe. They don't move. They don't simulate physics anymore.
Which one is the Phase Cube?
The one on the far left.
Oh, this one here.
It's like shiny.
We need to add health to them, like a health system, so that way they can receive and take damage and then break.
Yep.
Like some of them needs to receive either a set type of damage or a, you know.
Because if I'm not mistaken, in colors, the iron cubes don't get destroyed at all or anything. They're just kind of placed there to block paths and stuff. I can't remember where the phase cubes are used.
I don't think the phase cubes are in colors. I thought this was a 06 thing or something.
No, it's definitely from colors because it uses the same tags from when I remember getting them from colors. The chroma cubes.
Oh wait, no. These are destroyable. These phase cubes on the far left. They're in sections such as I know of a place in Sweet Mountain they're used. You know that level where the entire level is just you running around a hamburger?
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, this cube's used in that level. And I think there's a couple other levels, such as like in Planet Wisp and stuff, where they're used. And I think there's one or two in Aqua Park, Brain Park.
Right. I also think the cubes need to be a bit bigger. The crates, I think, are a decent size. Like the Chroma Cube, Iron Cube, and Phase Cubes, I think need to be just a little bit bigger.
Well, they're all one blueprint is a thing, so...
Yeah, I know they are, but I can easily make it so they change scale, depending on if they're a different type.
I think they all could probably use a scaling up, even the crates, just a little bit. I don't think the crates, like, need it desperately, but they could probably be a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, if people remember what the Jade Ghost blocks look like, their visuals have been updated slightly. Nothing too drastic. But I was looking at their material, and the texture that they used was like from colors, and it was really old and crispy and pixelated and stuff, and I'm like, ew, it looks bad to look at. And then I remembered we have other like grayscale maps in the project, specifically for the water, and I'm like, huh, what if I was just to swap this out? I swapped it out, and I'm like, well,
what if I were to swap it out and disguise it as my own?
What if I was to swap it out and disguise it as my own material?
Devilishly delightful, Reese.
Devilishly delightful me. We need to make the capsules do that homing attack fix. That is a small bug, but it is not a problem. Need to easy fix later. What else was there that we have done? Nothing much really from what I can recall. It's just mainly UI stuff that I did the last minute.
Yeah. The pause screen now works.
Yeah. Because of the UI rework that I started a little while ago, the pause screen, results screen, and game over screen just were not there, and they did not function at all.
But now they do.
I quickly got them fixed up last night. It didn't take too long. The result screen was the biggest pain. And it's not 100% working. It just constantly keeps giving an X rank for some reason. But besides that, it's functioning again.
So I do want to try something. Why is the timer stopping? Seems like the timer stops just at random.
Oh yeah, just stopped out of nowhere. What could be doing it? Weird. Oh!
What?
I think I might know what it is.
What?
The goal ring turns off the timer, right, when you touch it. What if the egg pawn is activating it?
The egg pawn shouldn't be able to activate it. It only looks for the player character.
Look at the goal ring blueprint. I'm just curious.
Give me a second. I want to check something. I gotta wait a little bit first, though. Oh yeah, there was another change made to the warp rings, but we can show that off in a little while.
Yes.
I think it's 111 seconds, so I think if I do it probably at 100 or 1 minute and 20 seconds. Let's try this. Oh, they gave me a D.
Oh, it gave you D?
Yeah. I think you have forgotten something. I included a feature where you can automatically get an X rank if you beat the level at a low enough time.
Okay.
So it looks like X rank is 70 seconds, so yeah, 1 minute and 10 seconds. If you beat the level within 1 minute and 10 seconds, you automatically get X rank. The idea of the X rank is that it was either the ultimate rank or it was the speedrunner rank. Meaning you beat the level under a speedrun time, therefore you get the X rank. That's what the idea was.
Yeah.
So if I had to guess, you would boot it up and then just hit the goal ring, and it would just give you an X rank because you beat it like really, really short.
But yeah, could you check that goal ring quickly? Like open up its blueprint. And then check its overlap.
It should be
event.
Using the yeah, it casts to the master character.
Casts to the master. Yeah, overlap event. Yeah, cast the master. And then it turns that stuff off. That's on a sequence. What's on the bottom sequence?
No. Just telling the game that you can't respawn.
Is respawn. Interesting. I feel like it has something to do with the egg pawn touching the goal ring though, because it's like random. And
what are you talking about?
Movement is random.
You still talking about the X rank thing?
No, the timer.
Oh, the timer. Okay.
Yeah. Like it shouldn't be doing it though, because it's casting to the master character. Is the thing.
Yeah.
But it makes me think that it is the egg pawn like touching it, and somehow it's triggering the timer to be like, all right, I must stop.
What it could be, what we should probably do is what we probably need to do is set this cast before the sequence and then promote the thing as a variable and then set the sequence after the cast. Probably what we need to do instead of doing it this way. That way we can confirm that the person that hit it is in fact actually... Yeah, that's what it is. Hold on, let me see this. Because there's this handles HUD and controller. Cast a HUD master, activate timer. False. Yeah, that's what that's doing. So here's what we'll do to fix it. Unplug this, You're going to remove this up, remove it from the thing. We're gonna.
And yeah, the first sequence is doing that. That is it.
We're gonna
Yeah, I
put
just
that
saw it on stream.
there. Actually, no. Plug this into here. Plug this into here. Plug this. Actually, no. Don't do that yet. Player character reference. Do we have that somewhere already? Where's this player character reference? Find references. No results found. Well, we already have one, so we're going to use it. Set. Plug this into here. Here. Plug this into here. Get this. Plug this into here. Boop. There we go. And there we go. That should fix it up. So that way the timer will not stop if it doesn't see the... If the actor it overlaps with isn't the player character, it's not going to sit there. It's not going to try and do anything.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
The timer should not randomly stop anymore. That bug has been fixed now. At least, unless there's something else involved with it.
I think it's just that.
Yep, it overlapped with the ring and nothing happened. So yeah, there you go. That's the fix. This honestly should have been done a long time ago.
Never noticed. Kept forgetting about it.
Yep. Alright, so one minor thing that I have changed involving the warp rings is originally how the warp rings would work is the warp rings would, like the camera on the opposite side, because every warp ring has a camera, the camera that it's paired with, what it would do is it would track the player's location and move the camera based on the character's location relative to the paired ring. But whenever I made this, I just tracked the character's location. What I should have been tracking was the character's camera location. So now, whenever you move the camera, you can actually see things on the other side of the area. Move a little bit. So that way the camera actually moves. It doesn't look exactly one-to-one. It's still a little bit on the jank side, but you can definitely see it's a little bit better now. But we do need to add an offset for the rotation, I believe, is the thing. But I could be wrong. Maybe we don't, but I'm not entirely sure. So these look a little bit better now. They make a little bit more sense in terms of how they function. And they look a little bit better whenever you look through them, so... That's just one minor change I made with them. Not much has really been done with the pulley or the zip line, just because I've not had a chance to really work on them. You added a little ice patch here, and the ice physics still works, so that's good to know. Whee. But yeah, I was just talking about the camera stuff and the warp ring and how it tracks the camera instead of the player. Good. So now it looks a little bit more natural. Not great still. It's not as good as it could be, but it looks better.
Yeah. And if you guys forgot, yeah, there's ice physics in the game.
We do have ice physics. Sonic do be slipping.
There's also lava physics, but I needed to find the lava material that's got that effect attached to it.
It's not really lava physics, more so just lava interaction.
Lava physics. You know. You die.
Lava physics. You die.
Oh, that's it. That's all you got. That's it. I quit. We need to probably the thing we could do with the lava is make it so it does chip damage. We need to add that feature where, like, over like time you lose rings instead of just losing them all in one go.
Yeah, that would have to
That,
alter the damage system, but it shouldn't
yeah,
be
it was
that difficult.
it was something we were planning on adding anyway for like the enemies. Like if they shoot a not like a cannon weapon, like like a minigun kind of weapon sort of thing, that they would just do chip damage, like in 06.
Mhm. Make lava physics step 1. You die.
Yeah, see, Fabio got it.
We do need to make a minor alteration to Sonic's or the animation blueprint. Where if you're in the middle of, we need to be able to determine whether or not the character is in a idle animation. And if they are in an idle animation, the act of doing anything should like interrupt the idle timer, and it should reset it.
Oh, I know what you mean. So then it starts at the beginning of the play, like the idle cycles.
Yeah, because like for example, if Sonic does this thing, like currently Sonic's in an animation right now, like he's looking around, and if I crouch and then uncrouch, he's just goes back to looking around.
Yeah, I know. I know how it works, and I guess there's a way to.
I think it has to do with certain states. Like if it recognizes you're in certain states, it'll interrupt it, but not all the time. It's really weird.
Because it's an animation composite.
Yeah.
Animation composites, they're just linear, and they constantly keep playing over and over, even if they're not being accessed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come back to it, it just goes back to where it was.
I think what it is like if you don't completely finish one animation, it doesn't interrupt the composite. Like you have to completely finish an animation for it to interrupt the composite. So I can do shit like this here. It's really weird. It's kind of funny.
Sorry, I'm having to think if there's something else. You having fun there?
It's funny.
Technically, Silver's psychokinesis effect has been upgraded. I did the same thing essentially, replacing a texture for that water texture, and it just looks nicer. You don't notice it as much.
Mm.
Yeah, you're having fun there.
Or like if you completely finish the animation, it does interrupt the cycle, it looks like.
Yeah. Let's see.
Let's see. Can I swap to... Silver should be on the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not. Shadow is on the list.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry. I thought you meant like just as in general as the list.
We usually have Silver on the list. It's usually a speed character, Tails, Knuckles, and then Silver is usually what the list consists of. But
I had Shadow because I was busy
yeah,
fixing his teleportation a while ago.
We were working with Shadow a little while ago, so.
Did a dynamic camera. That was... Wait, the stream was 20th, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, the dynamic camera is something we can show off real quick.
Dynamic camera is updated.
Yep. So Silver. The particle, or not the particle, the materials on his silver or psychic objects have been updated, so now they got kind of a little glowy effect on them now.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a water.
Yeah, it's using the water normal.
Yeah.
Not normal, water fucking, what you call it? Grayscale map, which is used to generate waves.
Mm-hmm.
So, just put that on Silver's cycle grab material, so it just looks nicer. More subtle.
I think I probably also do this here. Huh. Oh, wait, no. These items need to have their material put on them, that's the thing. But they do not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just removed into physics.
Silver, we will eventually get around to finishing you. Eventually.
Yeah, he will. I've been thinking about doing some things recently.
At some
Like
point in time,
upgrading
what we'll
the
do more
bottom.
than likely, what we'll do more than likely is at some point in time we will finish like what we're working on at the moment, and then we will just go on a silver binge and get a fuck ton of work done with silver.
Yeah, from what I can just guess, what we're doing right now is we're gonna try and see if we can get these final gimmicks and level objects added in.
Yeah.
And finished up, along with just finalizing the wisps. And then after that, because that shouldn't take too long, after that it's back to characters and doing the visual overhauls to the free listed, and then working on silver.
I'm kind of avoiding working with the characters at the moment because one, it's going to take a long while, and two, I know you got to replace the meshes, and even though replacing the meshes shouldn't really affect anything that I'm planning on doing, I still kind of like, I don't want to mess with it if you're going to be replacing the meshes sometime soon.
Like code stuff shouldn't affect it too much.
But these dynamic cameras, they have been changed now so that Sonic's movement has been fixed inside of them. For the longest time, Sonic's movement was not properly working inside of these, but now what it does is it takes the camera's forward vector and redetermines Sonic's forward vector on it. Because that's how it usually always works. If I press forward and the camera's facing in this direction, Sonic will move forward. Same thing here. Moving forward, stuff like that. But you're working out, and I'm listening. No, that's fine. You do what you need to do. But that used to not be what it was. What it used to be is you would enter the dynamic camera volume, and Sonic's forward vector would be where the camera was last known as. So
it's whatever his personal camera was. So if you started moving the mouse, it would update.
Yeah, and change. So like here, this is like the camera's last known direction, meaning this here is Sonic's forward. If I stepped in here, if I tried to press, anytime I pressed forward, I would move like in this angle here, because that was the last known forward vector of the camera. But now if I press forward, Sonic will actually move forward properly, because it is properly tracking the camera's forward vector now. So these things are significantly better to play around in now. I don't know why it took us so damn long to get around to it, but it did. But now they're working, and Sonic can skedaddle and zoom. The camera shifting around is kind of a bug at the moment, but we'll get around to that.
Yeah, we'll be able to toggle that off, hopefully, so it doesn't move around when it's in dynamic camera mode.
I feel like this is running at 60 right now. I actually hit 60 frames a second.
It is.
The camera, or the homing attack, also tracks Sonic's forward vector instead of the camera. So if you're in a dynamic camera section, it cares about which direction Sonic is facing rather than which direction the camera's facing. So these dynamic cameras function a lot better in gameplay now. We're also planning on adding some different types of dynamic cameras as well as some additional features with them.
Yep.
So yeah, that's also been done. And with that, I think that's most of everything.
The grind rail booster was done last time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, added new particles. Added new mesh, updated models. Yes, that's all of the Wisp models that were added. Worked on new interaction objects. Yeah, which is the lightning rod and stuff, which isn't there.
It exists.
It's a mesh that's there to remind us that's something that we need to do at some point. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the majority of stuff we've done this past 2 weeks.
Yes.
Not a great huge lot that's kind of just how these next few dev streams are probably going to be anyway. It's going to be the fact that most of us are doing work now, and
Holiday season.
also, yeah, holiday season, and also the stuff that we're adding is not huge stuff anymore. Call for Combat had huge dev streams because there was a crap ton of stuff that was getting changed.
That, and it was also in the middle of lockdown, so we had literally nothing better to do with our lives. So
yeah, so now we're just adding the smaller gimmicks and stuff. So these dev streams are going to be a bit more lighter in content when you think about it, but
there's still a lot of under the hood stuff that's being done, because there is some stuff that I had done, but it's just all under the hood. You can't really
it's just code
function.
Stuff.
It's all code stuff. Like, for example, those Wisp objects that you can eat and consume with Frenzy, Void, and stuff like that. On the outside, it looks like it functions exactly the same. It looks like absolutely nothing has changed with it. But under the hood, it's actually changed a little bit, so that way it uses a little bit more of a streamlined system. But you can't tell. I've done work with it, but you just really can't tell from it visually speaking. So
I have
it's
noticed,
not something
by the
you
way,
can show off.
When I get in the cannon as Silver, he stays in a ball.
Really?
It seems to only be Sonic.
Have you tried it with Tails or Knuckles?
No.
We can try it with Tails or Knuckles, which we'll worry about that later. I think I might have an idea on what's going on with it, because I think there was something I changed to get the pulley and the zipline to work, but
no.
I'll have to, if that's the case, then I'll have to expand it, and I could probably fix it.
Yeah, just a visual bug. Still functions pretty much the same.
Yeah, it functions the same, although I do think that there is one thing that's slightly different, because you can hear Sonic landing. Ideally, Sonic should stop moving, and he should not have physics whenever you're waiting to launch, but you can hear him land, which means that he's fallen down to the ground, which tells
didn't make it as well with the super forms, because their gravity's different.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, the gravity gets passed through the objects, is what it is. Whenever the object's getting ready to launch you, it grabs your gravity. So whatever your gravity is at the time whenever you enter it is the gravity it uses. So if you are a super form, it will grab the super form's gravity.
Yeah, which is different. So when you get launched, you don't go as far sometimes, I've noticed.
It should recalculate the trajectory it needs to launch you. Although ideally what should happen is, regardless of whether or not you're super, what it should do is it should reset your gravity to 0. And then launch you, because I think what it does is it expects you to have a gravity of 0. It then launches you. I'm not sure. I'll have to relook at it, see how it works with super forms, but in theory it should work one specific way, but I'm not sure if it is actually doing that. But yeah, I think there's not really a whole lot else we can show off. I guess if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns.
Dum 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 dum. Show the wall of characters for a background. So we get to bask in the glory of big.
It's a big boy. I'm a big bitch with my chicken strips.
Yes, that animation, but big. I need it now.
It's the boys.
It's the boys and girls.
Yes.
It's front of you. I think I was going to mention, and I have blanked on it. What was it? What was it? Nope, it's gone. It's gone.
British.exe has stopped working.
Yes, it has.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
One thing I will mention is later on today I am going to stream again, but I'm going to stream Super Monkey Ball Mania. Because that came out last week, and I've not had a chance to play it. Actually, the early access came out. I think it's actually completely up by now. I'm not sure. But
yeah.
I've never played a Super Monkey Ball game before, and I really wanted to, so we're going to start with this one. I'm going to try it out, so look forward to that.
What about the poll?
The poll?
Could we mention the poll on stream? That's what I would mention.
I can. I don't want to mention the results. We're not going to discuss the results or anything because this poll, the last two polls, the first one went for about a week. The second poll went for a week. This poll is going to go for probably about 2 weeks, just so we can make sure we get a good amount of votes for it. How's it going, Gavin? How you doing today? The poll is currently active. I'm not going to talk about the results, and we probably won't talk about the results, not until we actually know where we're going. And even then, I don't think we'll actually reveal what it is until we're ready to.
We won't reveal the final result until we have like an announcement thing, I guess. We'll just break in with an announcement. I've come to make an announcement.
Sonic the Hedgehog's a bitch-ass motherfucker.
His framework is fucking bad.
But yeah, once we have a decision made on the rebrand name, what we'll more than likely do is we'll come up with we'll work on some concept for the style, the logo, the branding idea, and the name and stuff like that. So we will, once we have that down and we have some concepts and we have a direction we want to go with it, then we'll make that announcement more than likely. But until then, you guys will just have to vote.
Just have to vote.
It will be called the Blue Bitch Framework. Yeah, that's what it's going to be called now. It's going to be called the Blue Bitch Framework.
Quick, get that added into the poll before it ends. Added. It's already got 50 votes. Right, there we go. We got it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Yeah, we're at the end of the stream, by the way, gaming.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and give them. I guess to do a really quick recap. New Whist models taken from Sonic Colors Ultimate. Rocket, Drill, Hover, Ghost, Laser, Cube, Frenzy, and Spike all have new models that come from Sonic Colors Ultimate thanks to RoboFabio. We're not going to shut down just yet, but we are getting close. Unless you're heading out, then have a good night. Blue cube rings have been visually updated. They're not finished, but they got some work to do. They still function. The Wisp eat objects use a new interface. It's a little bit more uniform, so they should be easier to understand.
Again.
No, I'm just doing a recap real quick. There's also new animations for the Wisps. Hover has new animations. Frenzy's got new animations. Drill technically has new animations. When the Wisps itself are going to change. When the Wisps themselves model. Oh, you're talking about the capsule, the Wisp capsules. We're probably not going to change them. I don't know if we will. I would like to, but some of them are probably just not necessarily worth changing, depending on it. Frenzy's probably going to change because Frenzy's model is still the Wii version. So we'll probably update Frenzy's capsule mesh.
The reason the rest of the Wisps haven't changed, they've all come from the same game, pretty much, besides a few of them. So they're all kind of unified, and to be honest, they don't need to be any higher poly.
Yeah, we might change the White Wisp, maybe, but I think this one came from TSR, didn't it?
Yeah, it's TSR. All of them are TSR except for Drill, Hover, Cube. No, Cube is from TSR, I think. Yeah, Cube's from TSR. Purple, Frenzy, and...
Frenzy's not from TSR. I thought we got him from Colors.
No, I said they were not from TSR.
Oh, not from TSR. I thought Cube was from TSR.
Cube is from TSR.
Oh.
All of them are from TSR except for the ones I stated.
Yeah. Hover, Frenzy. No, Rhythm came from TSR. Lightning came from TSR.
Hover wasn't in TSR. Yeah. Along with Frenzy. Those were the only two Wisps, I believe, that weren't in TSR. Oh, and Indigo Asteroid. That's from Forces.
Yeah. Asteroids from Forces, Hover is from Forces, but Frenzy is from Colors, and we'll probably end up updating.
And drills from the drills from Forces as well.
Oh, drills.
I did that I did that specifically so I get the moving texture because that wasn't possible on the
original,
the TSR one.
But yeah, Void has a new fan object that blows him around with some editable settings. The particles or the visual work for the what's it called? Void, or not Void, asteroid teleporting thing has been updated.
Asteroid portals.
Asteroid portals, those have been updated. The chroma cubes now change colors based on the wisp that you have in your inventory. Just a suggestion, the blue cube objects, not a lot, but they look really good if they just had a little bit of a glow. Yeah, the main issues with them right now are visual works. We're not done with them visually. The visual work needs to be worked on. They function entirely fine. They just, the only work they have left is all visual work, which is what I was mentioning earlier. Like, we'll probably give them a little bit of a glow. The materials are going to be swapped on them a little bit, and their color is going to be brightened up a little bit. They're not going to be as dark. The warp rings, they properly track your camera instead of the character now, so that way they look a little bit better whenever you just stand outside of them and look around. Jade Ghost's cubes here have a different material, or at least an updated material. Same thing with Silver's psychokinesis. Whenever Silver grabs objects with psychokinesis, they have been updated to look a little bit different, a little better. They use the same normal map thingy. And that's kind of just about it.
Yep.
Just a bunch of new animations for the Wisps. Frenzy has a new animation, Hover has new animations, stuff like that. There really is not a whole lot to go over. We didn't really go over a whole lot. A lot of this dev stream was kind of just filled with dead air, despite the fact that we still managed to fill like an hour and 20 minutes.
We're good at procrastination. And some of the crates physics were changed, but it's a very minor thing anyway. Which is poll.
Yep.
Poll stuff was mentioned at the end there as well, just about the results will not be shown off until we are ready. But
the dynamic camera works a little bit better now.
Oh yeah, dynamic camera as well.
It will track your movement based on the camera's new location now, so walking into it, you're less likely to get like super confused as which directions forward and stuff like that, so it should work. Oh yeah, the rail booster has been visually updated. Reese fixed up the model, so it works better now. So yeah, there's that.
Particle when you use it as well.
So what?
It's got like a little particle when you use it as well. It's just a dash panel particle, but you know, it's something.
Got all that good stuff.
And there's ice physics, because that's always been there.
Yeah, that's been there for a while though. Have you guys done any more optimizations since Colorful update? I've went through and I've done a lot of cleanup work. I've tested around with some ideas and concepts with optimization. For example, the master character. There's quite a few things listed on the event tick and the master character, and I would like to try and get as much of this stuff off the event tick as I can, so that way it's not running all the time. I don't think this camera lag needs to be on the event tick. It could probably be removed, more than likely.
The thing is, camera lag is just a thing with cameras in general. It's options you can turn on. It's something a manual is added for like custom camera lag.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it. The character snapping is something I have toyed around with the idea, as well as the character orientation. I've pulled those off the event tick before, and like ran them on a timer that runs at a lower tick rate. They still function. I can get the character snapping, like the character snapping code as it stands right now. If I ran it at half the pace that it currently does, like currently a tick is 0.01 seconds. I can run the character snapping at 0.05 seconds, which I believe is half the speed, so it checks like every other tick, or every other couple of ticks, I think is what it is, for the snapping, and it still technically functions. In terms of gameplay, it's fine. I think it doesn't really affect gameplay all that much at all. There is some things with the character orientation and rotation and stuff that is character snapping basically a dynamic gravity. Technically it is. It's what checks to see if there is anything beneath you, and if there is, it snaps you to it. Because so you can go loops. Yeah. The reason it's like this, and the reason Oban did it this way, I can understand why Oban did it this way. It's kind of annoying, but it's basically the only way you can do it this way. Because in the character movement here, there is a couple of pre-made settings you can have. The default movement whenever you're on land, there's like walking, nav mesh walking, which basically is walking based on nav mesh. There's falling, which is dynamically set. Like if you change it to falling, you're basically going to be in a constantly falling state until you collide with something. But whether or not you're walking, flying, or falling kind of changes depending on if you get launched. Anytime you get launched, you're automatically set into a falling state regardless of what state you were in previously. There's swimming, which that changes depending on like if you're in a water volume or whatever, but that's kind of different. And then there's flying. Flying essentially is different than all of them in the sense that you can have gravity, but gravity doesn't affect you because you are essentially suspended in midair. The main reason why we have flying, we're in a flying state rather than walking state, and we tried playing around with this in the past, and we figured it out, we looked it up, and went through some of Unreal's documentation and stuff. It has to do with character orientation and rotation. You can't really rotate a character all that well if they're in a walking state. There's something about being in a walking state with a character movement that prevents orientation and rotating the character. You can rotate a character in a walking state, but it's a lot harder, and I do believe there's a maximum amount of which you can rotate it. I think a character in a walking state can only be rotated 90 degrees if I am correct. Which breaks everything, is the problem. Like, you can no longer like run up along shuttle loops, you can no longer like run around donuts. You can't, I'm pretty sure you can't even run up walls, even though that's 90 degrees. I think 90 degrees may not actually be the cap, that might be lower. But essentially, without being able to rotate yourself, you can't properly interact with the terrain. Dash Engine gets around this by using physics volumes. Essentially, they are volumes that change your physics whenever you enter them. So rather than constantly looking around to check what your orientation is relative to the ground at all times, it only does it in specific volumes, which is fine, but it also, I think, is a little bit more limiting on the player end of things. It's not limiting in the game designer. Like, if someone uses Dash Engine to design a level, it's not necessarily limiting, because you can decide when and where you want physics volumes to exist and what all they encapsulate and stuff like that. So from the designer perspective, it's really not that bad of a system at all. I can see why some people would prefer it over another way, but from the player's perspective, from that side, I think it's a little bit more limiting because essentially you're only allowed to experiment where the devs say you can experiment. Have you guys thought about customizing character movement C++ instead? Yeah, that was the third option. There were basically two options for us. Either one, we stick with the character snapping and we have to go through and update it and optimize it, which is what we're going to end up doing. That's the choice we end up going with. Two, we completely overhaul the movement. And this was a long time ago. Like, we made this decision a long time ago. This isn't like recent. We overhaul the movement to use the walking system, and we do something similar to Dash where we have like physics volumes. Or the third option was we use C++ and we create an entirely customized character movement system, which none of us on the team are experienced enough with C++ to warrant doing that. Emmanuel, which is the only one on our team who really understands written code and can work with it, and I think he even knows quite a bit C++. He doesn't work with it. I think he works with C# more than C++, but even he was like, no, I don't really want to do that because that would take a lot of time. We would have to start from scratch in the character movement and work from there. Because a character movement, like creating a customized character movement, is a lot more than just like, deciding, oh, does your character rotate or does your character move? Or like you gotta design the falling speeds and how it interacts with the gravity, the world gravity, stuff like that. You gotta design the friction, the fluid friction, the air friction, things like that. You gotta design the ground friction, the turn rates of objects, stuff like that. There's a whole lot you have to actually completely overhaul and design from the ground up by using a customized character movement. And it's not easy. Like, that would have added like an entire chunk. Is the character snapping that resource heavy? In actuality, it isn't. Like, for example, let's start it up here. What I'm gonna do is, if I hit, we're gonna pull a HUD away. What is it? What's it for display? Is it display FPS?
Sure.
Show FPS, okay. Is it show.fps?
That should just be show capital FPS.
Or is it display FPS?
Are you capitalizing FPS?
Yes, I'm typing show FPS. It's not showing up on the thing.
That is weird because it should just be show FPS.
There's show splines. I don't think show is the correct word. I think it's display. Oh, God damn it. I don't know. We'll use the in-game one. The in-game one's not as reliable, but we'll use it. As you can see the frame rate here. Also, displaying this here also tanks the frame rate anyway, because this is a debug menu, and the debug menu pulls up a bunch of extra code that's running in the background. So using this debug menu by default is actually less efficient, so it's artificially dropping the frame rate. Even though it says it's hovering at about 30, the frame rate actually in reality is roughly 40. It hovers anywhere between like 36 to 40 FPS is what it actually hovers around if we were using the proper thing. But as you can see, it hovers around 30 or 40. If I went in here and I unplugged the character snapping, so that way the character snapping is no longer being used, I think it'll only end up saving like 3 or 4 frames, which is a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, 3 or 4 frames can be a lot of frames, especially on lower end PCs. So if I walked over here, that way where things are less drawn up. Like you can see the average is closer to like 32, like anywhere between 29 to 32. I think the highest could probably hit is probably like 34, almost 35. So on average, it does actually save more frames. And keep in mind, the character snapping also correlates with a lot of the character orientation as well as some of the other stuff. If I went and plugged everything on the event tick, I think it might save like a couple more frames. So it's not that the character snapping necessarily like tanks the gameplay all that much, but it is something that could probably be done without. So if I walked out here, as you can see, the frame rate doesn't actually change a whole lot. Like you can see it probably hits close, like it stays at a steady 30 frames, and it maybe even hits up to like 35. I think it hit 38 a few times as well, 36. So it does save on resources. And of course, if I were to actually use the proper cheat, actual debug, why is it just not working? I'm gonna look this up real quick.
Wine.
It's supposed to be show FPS, but oh, hold
I knew
on.
it was show FPS.
Oh, we can just hit this here. You don't even have to type in a command. Pretty sure it's a line trace, right? It is technically a line trace. But yeah, you can see like here, it's hovering around 30 frames. I think it hit up to 40. Yeah, now that it's actually using the proper debug menu, it's not got that additional menu up. It's hitting about 40 to 45 frames. And if I plugged all this stuff back in, stop it. Boop. Boop. Pile. Taking a moment. The character snapping is a little bit more complicated than just a line trace, because we actually trace 4 different locations on the character. Because if you just did a simple line trace downward right below the character, then you can get some pretty inaccurate data based on your surroundings. So if I walk, so if I walked out here, you can see it hovers closer to about 38 to 40 versus the other one hovered around 45. So if we unplugged absolutely everything from the event tick and instead like ran it on something else, we could save roughly 5 frames. So that's not like an exuberant amount, but it is actually quite a few. Because like if you have a lower end PC, then if you, well, yeah, like the thing is, like, even though Infinity Plus might play pretty well, like on your computers and stuff like that, on lower end PCs, 5 frames is a major difference. Like, that's a huge deal. But another thing is the fact that I'm running this in Unreal Engine, meaning that this actually has to run a bunch of extra additional background processes. So if I remember right, on average, if I play this on a packaged demo, it should, I think, run slightly better, probably by a couple of frames. So even though this is running at like 40, 45 frames on average, if I were to play this in an actual packaged demo, it might bump up to 50. Because it's not running in a bunch of additional background processes that Unreal has to run to play in the editor. So that's another thing we got to keep in mind as well. So they're moving some of the stuff off the event tick will help. Running it like every other couple of frames rather than every single frame will help. As well as in general, I think it'd be interesting to see if I can get it to run in a way that it doesn't need the information every single tick. Maybe it could like save information in between ticks that it's not checking. Because I think that's part of the problem is it checks for stuff, and on ticks that it doesn't run, it doesn't use any saved information. It just starts using new information that it doesn't need or use, so it automatically kind of just breaks stuff. So I think what it needs to do is it should instead use information that it had on the previous ticks. Another thing is I could also run the character orientation. The character turning doesn't seem to want to work, even if I run if I plugged all of this on the timer, character snapping, orientation, and turning, if I plugged all of that into a timer rather than on the event tick, and I ran the timer at tick speed, for some reason the character turning still doesn't work. I don't know what it is. Something about this doesn't want to work. And the character turning is required to function because I believe it handles a lot of the friction. And
Yep.
As you could see earlier, whenever I unplugged everything and Sonic was like walking really, really, really slowly, is because the friction wasn't being updated. God damn it, stupid gnat. Because the friction wasn't being updated, Sonic was running insanely slowly because his acceleration couldn't overcome the ground friction. For some reason, that just has to run on the event tick. I think we'll have to look into it and see if we can rework it. But character snapping and orientation, I could run those on a slower timer and save, I think, like 2 or 3 frames. But I think if I were to do that, we would have to change the character orientation, because the you can definitely tell, like, even though the character orientation functions entirely fine on a slower timer, like, it works, the gameplay isn't really affected, you can definitely see the difference. Like, Sonic's orientation, his rotating, his changing is a lot more jittery. Like, he turns in increments rather than smoothly. So if we were to run the character orientation at a lower tick rate, we would have to alter it a little bit to insert between rotations rather than snapping them. In which case, if that is the actual case, what we might end up doing is we could probably look into the character orientation and rework it entirely. If we're planning on reworking the snapping code to be a little bit more efficient, then we can probably also rework the orientation code to work differently to accommodate for the new snapping code. Just please don't do it the way Dash Engine does it. That feels super sluggish. It might run a little better with performance, but it doesn't feel good to play. I don't really care for how default Dash plays, but that's a personal opinion. I don't think that's really reflective of Dash itself. Because I know Dash is also super flexible. Even though I don't really personally care for Dash Engine, I can recognize that it's still a super flexible framework. I've seen a lot of really cool stuff being made in Dash, and I've played a couple of fan games that do play pretty well in Dash, but most fan games that play in default Dash without changing any of the physics and stuff, I don't really care for how they play. But that's more so a me thing than anything else. But hopefully, whenever we get around to changing this, we won't have to change too much about how the actual physics change at all. But this is stuff I would like to go over with the manual. I don't think we'll get around to it for a little bit because there's other things on the dock to do first. Mana manual, we need to look at the splines first. We want to get that running much smoother. The water volume needs to be looked at and probably overhauled in some instances. I think there was 1 or 2 other things that manual and I needed to look at, but once those are done, like once the splines are done, once the water volume is done, and I think once 1 or 2 other object is done, then I think Emmanuel and I are going to next work on the character and things such as character snapping and orientation and stuff like that once we're ready.
Yep.
But I think Emmanuel's been sick recently. Apparently he came down with some, so he's not really done a whole lot, which is fine. I hope he gets better here soon. which is why he's not here today. I think he's still kind of recovering.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to work alongside Emmanuel to fix some of these things up, because the thing is, Emmanuel and I, whenever him and I work together, we tend to brainstorm the hell out of stuff, and we can prototype things. We basically quick fire prototypes, and we brainstorm, and we're like, what if we do this? Well, what if we do this? Well, what if we do this? And then we kind of just quick fire a bunch of different ideas, and then we combine ideas with our ideas, or we rework and stuff like that. So with Emmanuel and I sitting down and doing a couple of sessions of just recoding things, him and I should be able to hopefully get things running a lot smoother. Another thing that's going to be changing is this general object interactions. We don't need a lot of this. A lot of this just doesn't need to exist. Some of it does need to exist, especially stuff related to the water volume. There's some water volume stuff here that needs to exist, but a lot of this does not need to exist. It's not dragging the code down or anything. This isn't inefficient. It's not like, oh, this is causing a bunch of lag and stuff like this. This is hurting frames or anything. No, it actually isn't. But it just doesn't need to exist here. It's super gross. It's super dirty. It's cluttering things up. It's just code that could be cleaned up and not needing to exist. It could be more uniform. I'm not trying to knock it as a dash, and a lot of stuff is really cool. I just don't like how it feels by default. Yeah, I don't like default dash. Default dash is just not very fun to me. But a lot of people don't like default Infinity engines, so you know, it's just a matter of personal perspective.
It's all about how you look at things.
I wouldn't be surprised if I don't get back into the swing of things until after Thanksgiving, because all of October is probably going to be pretty busy for me. I had to work a 5-day work week last week, and I'm working a 5-day work week this next week, but I think that's mostly just due to the fact that I had to cover some shifts. But I think once these 2 weeks are over, I'm probably going to go back. I'm going to probably maybe get one additional work day per work week, so I might work 4 days a week versus the past couple of weeks I've only been working 3 days a week, which leaves me like 4 days out of the week to work on stuff. Which some of those days I've utilized, other days I kind of just chill and take to myself. But I probably won't go back to having 4 days off from the week until like next year once Christmas is over. But I imagine that I would have at least 3 days off during the week here soon once again. But it's entirely dependent on how much we're expecting Christmas and Thanksgiving to be busy. Because this entire month, the entire month of October, every single week we have some kind of hard-hitting movie getting ready to release. Like last weekend was Venom. This coming weekend is 007. I don't think next week has really anything too big. But we also have Dune coming up. Dune is supposedly going to do pretty good. Last Night in Soho might do pretty well. There's also Halloween Kills. That one is a horror film, even though horror films never last. Horror films always like stick around for like a week or two, but during that 1 week or two, they'd usually do really, really well. And then after that, they never do anything because everyone's like, all right, it's Halloween, let's go watch the horror film. And then everyone watches the horror film, and then no one cares after that. Everyone kind of just drops it. So horror films usually only do like a burst of numbers. I'm honestly really excited for someone to make some Levels Infinity Plus Critical Combat update or any updates after. It looks so much better. and way more fun than 3 and Knuckles. I'm not gonna lie, and I know this is probably a slightly biased opinion, but I actually kind of like the 3 and Knuckles update more than the Colorful Combat update.
What?
I know, it's heresy. That's not to say I don't like the Colorful Combat update. I think we did a pretty good job with it. I just think I like the stability that we had with the 3 and Knuckles update more than we did with the other updates. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So.
I see now.
Colorful Combat did have a lot of content, though. I mean, like, a metric fuck ton of content.
Content.
The code looks much cleaner, though. Yeah, the code is cleaner in some cases in Colorful Combat. I think the code was still kind of messy in 3 and Knuckles. Talking code base as well. Yeah, there are some cases where the code is actually worse in Colorful Combat, but that's mostly related to the actual combat stuff. Anything not combat related is a little bit cleaner, because we did actually get quite a bit of code cleaned up. But in this case, in this update, the code is going to be way clearer. I mean, look at this movement graph. Oh. Have I noticed any FPS gains from 3 and Knuckles to now? No. And in actuality, and this is, I think, what I'm about to say sounds like a bad thing, but in actuality, I think it's a good thing. The frame rate, to me, actually hasn't changed at all since 3 and Knuckles. If anything, maybe it got a little bit worse. I think we used to be able to consistently run at like 60, and now it's, I think, jumped to around 50 or so. But again, that's also, a lot of that's in editor. I don't really play a lot of the package demos a whole lot. I usually play in editor. But whenever you think about it, considering how much stuff we have added to the project since 3 and Knuckles, the fact that the frame rate hasn't really changed a whole lot in between updates, I think says quite a bit about how efficient the new updates are. It's like we've added quite a bit in between updates, but even then the frame rate hasn't changed a whole lot. Only recently has the frame rate started to dip a little bit. Like only real recently. But we also have a lot more actors and such in this map than the 3 and Knuckles test map, though. Well, in actuality, this map is smaller. The idea of using this map was to actually have fewer objects. Originally, this map had, like, very, very few objects because Reese's computer at the time was pee-pee-poo-poo, and he couldn't run the old test stage anymore. So he created this one for him to test in, and me and Emmanuel would test in the other one. But ever since he got a new computer, we've kind of just refilled this test stage up again.
Yeah, pretty much.
The only reason we made this test stage was to actually have fewer objects in it because of your computer. But then we kind of just started using it.
Yeah, now that I've got a beefy computer, it's just, I haven't noticed anything, so it's kind of filled up again.
Do we plan on adding tail save? Probably not. I don't hate the tail save mechanic. I don't think the tail save mechanic is bad, actually. I think it's a pretty good mechanic, especially for beginners, like for new people playing Sonic games and stuff like that. I think it's actually really good. I think it could have been implemented a little bit better. I think having to collect an item to get a tail save, similarly to an extra life, like collecting an extra life to have an extra life, collecting a tail save to get a tail save, I think that kind of defeats the point of having the tail save a little bit. Just having the tail save be a mechanic to me makes more sense rather than having to collect an item to do it. But the actual tail save mechanic itself, I don't think is really bad at all. I think it's all right. I know a lot of people hated it, and I think a lot of the people who hate it really need to reevaluate their fucking life because it doesn't make It doesn't make sense to hate it. It literally does not make sense to hate the tail save. It is just the life system. That's all it is. It's the exact same thing. The only difference is on occasion, instead of restarting at a checkpoint, you restart at the last safe area you can. That's the only difference between the tail save and the life system. And the fact you can't game over. But who the fuck games over in Sonic Colors? If your problem with the tail save is the fact that you can no longer game over, what does that say about you as a gamer? Who the fuck games over, like game overs in Sonic Colors?
I totally didn't know.
Well, you're British, so.
Oh.
That's what I'm thinking about. I'm happy. Someone else who thinks that is just crazy. Yeah, a lot of people like was overblown about the tail system. Functionally speaking, mechanically speaking, it's a live system. It doesn't change anything mechanically speaking. I don't think the quality of the game actually changes at all. The only thing, if I had to make any changes to the tail save, it would be one, making it optional. Like, and by optional, I mean, still don't have lives, get rid of lives. I don't necessarily think Sonic Colors was good because it had a life system. Get rid of lives entirely, and if you fall off a stage or if you die, just restart at the last checkpoint versus restarting at the last safe location. That's what turning it off would do. And two, if you have it on, don't have it be a collectible item. Just have it be a thing by default. Like, let Tails just save you regardless. Let it be like a difficulty mode. If you have it on, tail save is active. Ergo, Tails will always save you and always move you to the next safe location when applicable. Or have it off, where Tails doesn't save you and you just restart a checkpoint. No lives at all. I don't
Tails
necessarily...
save you, just fucking die.
Like, I don't see having to collect a tail save token. I don't see that adding anything, any layer to the mechanic. Sonic Colors is not a hard enough game to warrant needing to collect life tokens. The last time I played Sonic Colors, the default Sonic Colors on Dolphin, I ended the game. Like, I started the game and I ended it in one session. The last time I did that, I ended with like 70 lives. You don't need lives in Sonic Colors. Whenever I played Sonic Colors Ultimate, I started Sonic Colors Ultimate and I ended it with like 60 tail saves. And Sonic Colors Ultimate is slightly harder than the original due to how some things change with the frame rate, like certain enemies interact differently and stuff like that thanks to the upgraded frame rate. There are definitely certain specific sections of Colors Ultimate that are harder than the original, but not enough to warrant, like, you know, needing a fuck ton of save or lives or anything. I think Sonic needs to either do an easy mode where there are no lives, a normal mode where there are lives, or do a new game plus where lives are there. Yeah, that's more so just a discussion about lives rather than Sonic games, and I have an entirely different opinion on that, but that's for another time. I think there are a time and place for lives. I think the life system can be updated. I do think the live system is outdated. I do think it's an old system, and if games don't have lives, I don't think it's really that big of a deal. But I do think that the life system could be updated. It could be changed to fit modern gaming. And the tail save, I think, is a decent way to do it, but it could have been better. But again, that's a different topic for a different time. But if there is nothing else actually related to the project to talk about, I think we might call it good here. We've hit the 2-hour mark. I do have one more question about Infinity Plus. When do you guys think the Shadow rework is coming? We're not planning on reworking Shadow. Same thing with Blaze and Metal Sonic. We're not going to be reworking those characters as you would traditionally see it, like reworking. We are going to be changing things about them, and we are going to be modifying some stuff, maybe adding a few new things to them. but that is not what I would personally classify as a rework. More so just tweaks and alterations to make them more unique and stand out as individual characters. And that's not going to be for a little while. We're probably not going to do that until Reese can get the models updated. Like, once we get Sonic's model updated and all of the other models retargeted to the new system, once all of that is done, then we will probably work on Shadow, Blaze, and Metal Sonic. But that will also probably be after we just, in general, try to make the master character more efficient, like run more efficiently anyway. Yep. Once Emmanuel and I can go through all of the master character and get a lot of the code running more efficiently, and after the models have been updated, then we will more than likely try our best to get all those characters updated. But that's not going to be for a little while. That's probably going to be closer to the end of the development cycle of this update. So we'll have to see about that. It's not anytime soon, so don't expect changes to Shadow, Blaze, or Metal Sonic anytime soon.
Indeed.
Alright, well, if there's nothing else, I think we're probably going to call it good here. I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to try and get something to eat, and then later I'm going to stream again some Super Monkey Ball Mania. Our next dev stream will be the 18th. This will be uploaded onto YouTube on the 11th. So hope to see you guys then. Hopefully we will have a little bit more work next time than we did last time. Update is looking really good. Can't wait till it comes out. Definitely going to download the next one just to play around with it. Yeah. I'm not sure if this next update is going to be 1.0 or not. We'll have to talk about that and think about it. But even if this update is not 1.0, the update after it should not be all that big. Like, it really just depends. But we will see everybody next time. Thank you to everyone who decided to come out and hang with us. And we will see everyone next time.
See you later.